Here is in response to what the world has, out of nowhere, I would say, defined as Pride Month here in the month of June. Here's a clip that I think explains in the best way why participating in Pride Month, why Pride Month in general, why the LGBT community, that whole entire thing, why it's a very bad idea. I don't want to share too much, but I've got my opinions and I've got my thoughts on the matter. But before we get into that, let's get into this clip.
Idea. We have Pride Month. Well, what are we celebrating? First of all, how about we don't celebrate pride? Pride's a cardinal sin. And you might say, well, they don't mean pride. They mean it's a group of oppressed people, and now they're just finding their identity and they're getting some security in that identity. And so what they mean by pride is security in that identity. It's like the word's pride. That's the word that was chosen. And it's pride in relationship, as far as I can tell, to nothing but hedonistic self-gratification. It's like your identity is gonna be your sexual desire. That's your identity, your sexual desire. So that means you've reduced your identity to the most immature and hedonistic part of you, the part that would exploit someone else for your own gratification, for example, the part that would exploit you for your own gratification. And now that's your identity. And now that's what we celebrate. Yeah, no, that's a very bad idea.
I'm going to start off by saying I agree. I agree. So if you if you don't agree, this just might not be the video for you. But we're going to do this with respect. We're going to do this with kindness. Now, pretty much he's coming from a standpoint of if we can just be honest when it comes to a biblical standpoint of everything that's going on in the world right now, when it comes to the LGBTQ community and what they stand on, pride, this is Pride Month, and their community is they're celebrating pride. And we know in this community, pride comes before the fall. And I used to say all the time, and I talk about it in other videos, that I personally, I'm not going to hate you for doing what you're doing. I'm not going to be mad at you for doing what you're doing. That's what you want to do. If you want to celebrate pride, even if you're homosexual and if you're not homosexual, and if you want to celebrate pride with them because that's your way of saying, I want to support and we have to be inclusive and we have to be that, that's totally fine. If you ask me, you're already included. There's no like such thing as we're separating you. There's no segregation. Like you're included. You can work the same jobs. You can purchase the same food. You can go to the same places. I mean, there's literally nothing different that anyone in the LGBTQ community is not able to do that someone who's not in that community is able to do, in my honest opinion. And when it comes to this whole thing here, what he's explaining is pretty much that what there really is biblically, it's not right. And when you think of it, even not biblically, what is the purpose of a same-sex marriage, same-sex relationship? Because when you just break it down for anything that anyone is going to say, other than the, as he's saying, the hedonistic parts of it, as he's talking about, just kind of like the intercourse, just kind of exploiting yourself for just that one part of a relationship that most relationships in that community heavily focus on. What is the purpose of the relationship? You don't really find one, because outside of the hedonism that he's talking about is you really just have a friend. You just have a friend. If you're a guy and you're interested in other men and you guys call yourself in a relationship, you really just have another friend. So what is the purpose? Because it just doesn't make sense to how we were created, how God created us, what we were destined for, what's the purpose for the woman's body and the man's body, all of that stuff that makes sense, the science behind it, the biology behind it. So it's backwards. So it's not that we aren't being inclusive by not celebrating something that is backwards, because we do include you. We're okay with you guys purchasing the same gas we purchase. We're okay with you guys even living in the same world that we live in. There is no type of separation. But having Pride Month and celebrating something, as he said, a very terrible sin, a sin that no one should have. And when you think about it, it's like we can celebrate Pride Month, Pride Month, Pride Month, Pride Month, Pride Month. But do you not know how many times people have bashed me and people have judged me and corrected me and chastised me for being what they considered prideful in the workplace because I had confidence? Oh, you're prideful. You're prideful. You got too much pride. You got too much pride. So it's not okay for me to, have confidence and have enough confidence in the workplace. But it is okay for people to strut around and, enjoy their Pride Month. And we need to celebrate and we need to join in with you in on it. And if we don't, then we're the problem. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This isn't one of those situations where people say, oh, if you're not helping it, well, then you're part of the problem. There is no problem here. That's what I really want to point out about this entire thing. There really is no problem here. The reality of it is, because, and most people like to put it in a situation where it's like the LGBTQ community versus the Christian community. But that's not necessarily what it is. In my reality and what I see and what I'm exposed to, it's the LGBTQ community, it's Christians, and it's even unidentified faith members that still can have the same stance on what's happening here. LGBTQ, people being homosexual, that's been around for a very long time. Nothing new. Nothing new under the sun. Nothing new. That's been around for a very long time. What I truly believe, from what you can see on the news, from what you can see on the internet, on social media platforms, on any other outlets, what I truly believe is that although being gay is a sin, I don't think that people are pointing at that. The problem with this is that it's like a snowball. It keeps turning into something bigger and bigger and bigger that we have to accept and adopt into our world. And it's just not making sense. And for some of it, it's actually not okay. And it's offensive to younger people, to children coming up, because you have the LGBTQ community. It's more than just, when I was growing up as a kid, it was like you were either gay or you were straight. There wasn't like, the lesbian, the bi, the gay, the trans, the queer, the whole, let all the letters in there. Like that wasn't non-binary. All of those things it wasn't a thing. So it's like, okay, if you were gay, you were gay. That's fine. If you weren't gay, you weren't gay. There was no fight. There was no this or whatever. It just was what it was. But you move it to today's time and you have the non-binary, you have the people that feel this way, you have the people that I believe I'm this and I'm this trapped inside of this body. So since I believe this, I'm going to use this restroom, even though that there's minor children there, because this is how I feel. And it's providing so much confusion. And it's like the world and everyone is wanting everyone to move into this direction of supporting that, of agreeing with it, of like really getting down with it. But it's like, come on, guys, can we just be honest for a second and say, look, this just does not make sense. We aren't the ones being crazy. We aren't the ones, not making sense, for not subscribing to this, for not following this thing, because it just doesn't add up for us. It doesn't add up for us. Now, if you want to include and you want to invite some inclusivity, well, then you can go ahead and you can have your men's restroom, you can have your women's restroom, and then you can have your NA restroom. Just not applicable. It just is what it is. I got men, women, and NA. MWNA. And all the NAs can go into the NA restroom and use the NA facilities as an NA. But we can't ask and bring fight and division and cause so much hatred back and forth in the world because one side is upset that the other side will not join them in what I would say it. I'm trying to find a nice way to say this because I said we're going to handle this with love and respect. But it's not mentally sound. Thank you, Jesus, for giving me those words. It's not mentally sound. It's not safe. And all of that, the fight, that urge, the fight to have a Pride Month, and all of that urge and all of that stuff that happens in the community comes off of the pride that they're celebrating, the pride they're welcoming, the pride that exists there. Because it's me, 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 me. I finally found a place where I can be myself. Everyone's trying to look for themselves. Everyone's trying to do soul searching. Everyone wants to find out who they are, period. But let me encourage you and let me open up your mind just a little bit more and say, let's try and go and find out who we are in Christ. Because who we are, bro, it could lead you to feeling so lost. That's honestly what I think about the LGBTQ community. That because of who we are naturally, we're wretched, we're hurt, we're bruised, we're battered, we're wronged, we're undeserving, we're not worthy, we're filthy. Because of all that, in search to trying to find yourself in this world that is against you, in this world that is tough to navigate at times, in a search to try and find yourself, you end up latching onto things that you have no business latching onto. No business latching onto. But I feel that everyone is looking for everything they can in the world. Everyone is searching for everything. Except God. Except God. Something to think about, man. That's all I got for you guys on this one. To the next one. I'm out.